Emma, I need you to sign this right now. Your mother-in-law wants to transfer $1.5 million into your name. My sister-in-law, Natalie, banged on my car window in the Walmart parking lot at 10 p.m. Her face pale as a sheet, hands trembling, while holding a stack of papers. I just made a huge mistake with the paperwork, and you're the only one who can fix it. At that moment, I thought Natalie was panicking over some administrative error. I opened my car door and signed my name on those papers under the dim parking lot lights, having no idea that Natalie had just stolen $1 million from my mother-in-law's retirement accounts and was about to pin it all on me. If you're watching this video, please like and subscribe to follow more shocking family stories. Comment and let me know if you've ever trusted the wrong person. Now let me tell you from the beginning how a dream marriage turned into the worst nightmare of my life. I grew up in a small town called Youngstown, Ohio, a place that was once a steel industry hub, but now only has closed factories and high unemployment rates. My dad worked at the General Motors assembly plant. My mum was a cashier at Kroger grocery store. We lived in a 3-bedroom ranch-style house built in the 1960s, located in a neighborhood that real estate agents politely called transitional. On my 16th birthday, while my school friends got used cars from their parents, I received a 10-speed bike from a yard sale for $45 that my mum had saved up for 6 months. "Honey, exercise is good for your health and the environment," Mum said, with a smile that couldn't hide her embarrassment. I rode that bike to McDonald's, where I worked part-time after school and on weekends. In high school, I maintained a 4.0 GPA while working 25 hours a week to save money for college. While my classmates joined student government and varsity sports, I stood behind the counter flipping burgers and wiping grease stains off my apron. Guidance counselor Mrs. Peterson pulled me aside junior year. "Emma, with these grades you could apply anywhere. Ohio State will give you a partial scholarship." When the acceptance letter from Ohio State arrived with an academic scholarship offer covering tuition, I cried with relief at the kitchen table. My parents also had tears in their eyes, but they were worried about room, board, and living expenses. "Sweetheart, we'll figure it out," Dad said, though I knew they were already financially stretched. These experiences taught me the value of hard work and the importance of helping others when they're struggling. Perhaps that's what made me vulnerable to the betrayal that was coming. I graduated from Ohio State with an accounting degree and was immediately hired by a regional CPA firm in Columbus. Moving from Youngstown to the state capital felt like stepping into a different world. Downtown high-rises, vibrant restaurant scenes, young professionals everywhere. For the first time in my life, I had my own apartment and a stable paycheck. I met Connor, my husband, at a United Way charity fundraiser when I was 27. He worked as a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company, drove a nice Audi A4, and wore suits that cost more than my monthly rent. Most importantly, he treated me like I mattered, held doors, paid attention when I spoke, remembered small details about stories I told. Connor's family background was completely different from mine. His parents owned a successful dental practice in the upscale New Albany suburb. He graduated from the private Kenyon College, and family vacations involved ski trips to Colorado instead of camping at state parks like my family. "You're so refreshing, Emma," Connor said after our 3rd date. "Genuine and down to earth. And I'm sick of dating girls who only care about designer bags and daddy's credit card." Comments like these made me feel special, like my humble background was actually an asset. Dating Connor opened doors I never imagined. Fine dining restaurants where waiters called him by name, golf course memberships wine tastings where people discussed notes of oak and berry undertones. I studied etiquette articles online and practiced pronouncing French wine names to fit in better. The first time I met Connor's parents at their family home in the New Albany subdivision, I immediately understood the scale of the wealth gap. The house looked like something from Southern Living magazine. 6 bedrooms, 3-car garage, landscaping maintained by professional services. Mrs. Helen Morrison greeted me politely, but with a reserved smile that didn't reach her eyes. Emma works in accounting, Connor introduced me to the extended family at Sunday dinner. She's very talented with numbers. How practical, Mrs. Morrison responded with a tone suggesting practical wasn't a compliment. Natalie studied art history at Vassar before marriage. Cultural education is so important for raising children properly. Natalie, Connor's older brother's wife, immediately established herself as the golden standard in the family. She graduated from a prestigious East Coast college, volunteered with the Junior League, and maintained a Pinterest-perfect lifestyle, complete with monthly dinner parties and seasonal home decorating. "Emma, I love your dress!" Natalie exclaimed at the engagement party with fake enthusiasm. "Target has such cute options nowadays, very budget-conscious of you." These comments were delivered with a smile but designed to remind everyone of class differences. Worse were the subtle ways the family excluded me from traditions and conversations. They discussed vacation homes at the Michigan Lake property, debated the merits of private versus public schools, and shared inside jokes about people from the country club. When I tried to contribute about work experiences or childhood stories, conversations quickly shifted to other topics. The wedding planning process revealed the true extent of family dynamics. Mrs. Morrison took complete control, selecting the venue, country club, flowers, white roses for classic elegance, and menu, chicken or beef, no ethnic options because we don't want to confuse the older guests. My suggestions were politely dismissed. Ethnic food was too adventurous. A live band instead of DJ was more appropriate, and the guest list was heavily weighted toward Morrison family connections. My parents looked completely overwhelmed at the rehearsal dinner. Dad was uncomfortable in his rented tux, Mum nervous about proper fork usage during the multi-course meal. They tried to make conversation with other guests about gardening and local news, but conversations quickly fizzled when topics turned to European vacation plans and private school tuition costs. "Your parents seem very salt of the earth," Mrs. Morrison commented privately. "Simple people have their charm, certainly." After the honeymoon, integrating into the Morrison family rhythm proved challenging. Sunday dinners involved discussions about investment portfolios, real estate markets, and social obligations. When I mentioned work achievements or continuing education plans, Mrs. Morrison would redirect, "Natalie just redecorated their guest bathroom. She has such sophisticated taste." Natalie was perfect at making backhanded comments. "Emma, you work so hard. I admire women who need careers to feel fulfilled. I personally find meaning in volunteer work and supporting family, but everyone's different." These statements were technically supportive, but left me feeling inadequate. Determined to prove my worth, I pursued CPA certification and transitioned to a corporate accounting role at a nationwide insurance company headquartered in Columbus. The new position came with an $85,000 salary, a significant increase that allowed me to contribute more substantially to household finances and begin paying down student loans aggressively. Success at work brought confidence, but also tension with Connor. "Do you really need to work such long hours?" he asked when I stayed late to close monthly books. Natalie manages a beautiful home and still has time for family commitments. Balance is important. I enrolled in an evening MBA program, at Ohio State, studying after full workdays and on weekends. The program cost $40,000 spread over 3 years, an investment I made with personal savings and additional student loans. Connor was initially supportive, but grew frustrated with the time commitments. My friends' wives have more availability for social events, Connor commented when I missed the third dinner party in a month to complete a group project. Natalie organizes book clubs and charity fundraisers. She makes Richard look good in the community. Pressure increased when Mrs. Morrison began making comparisons more explicit. Natalie's pregnant with her second baby, she announced at a family dinner. She's such a natural mother. Some women prioritize careers, others understand family comes first. The direct look at me made the message clear. MBA graduation led to a job offer from Nationwide Insurance corporate headquarters with a promotion to senior financial analyst position, salary jumping to $125,000 annually. This achievement represented the culmination of years of night classes, weekend studying, and financial sacrifice. The position required occasional travel to regional offices and longer hours during quarterly reporting periods. Connor grew increasingly resentful. "Emma, you're never available anymore. Family events, social obligations, you miss everything." Natalie somehow manages charity work, kids, and still supports Richard's career. I realized Connor and his family expected me to play a supporting role similar to Natalie, focused primarily on home, social obligations, and enhancing my husband's reputation. My career ambitions were viewed as selfishness rather than legitimate goals. Tensions escalated when I received an offer for a financial director position at a regional manufacturing company requiring relocation to Cincinnati. Only a 2-hour drive, but a significant career advancement opportunity with a $155,000 starting salary. "Absolutely not," Connor stated firmly. "I won't uproot my life here to chase your career fantasies. Family stability matters more than money." Natalie turned down opportunities to support Richard's advancement. That's what marriage partners do. His expectation was clear. My ambitions should be subordinate to his comfort and family approval. But I had worked too hard, overcoming background obstacles, to limit myself now. I accepted the Cincinnati position, despite Connor's objections. The decision created a permanent rift in our marriage. He refused to consider relocation, arguing that his career was established in Columbus and family ties were too important to break. We attempted a commuter marriage arrangement. I maintained an apartment in Cincinnati on weekdays, returned to Columbus on weekends. The arrangement was unsustainable and emotionally exhausting. Mrs. Morrison used the situation to reinforce her narrative about my selfishness. Poor Connor, living like a bachelor because Emma prioritizes career over family. Natalie frequently called with updates. "Connor looks so lonely at family dinners. He mentioned feeling like marriage isn't your priority anymore." Her concerns sounded genuine, but the underlying message was always a critique of my choices. Worse, family functions became uncomfortable. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms, polite smiles replaced genuine warmth, and I consistently felt like an outsider despite being a family member for 3 years. Financial pressure mounted as well. Maintaining 2 residences was expensive. Travel costs were significant, and MBA loan payments consumed a large portion of my income. I refinanced student loans and used credit cards to cover the gap, assuming the temporary situation would eventually resolve. The Cincinnati position exceeded expectations. Within 18 months, I was promoted to assistant controller with a salary increase to $185,000. Company performance improved significantly under new financial systems I implemented. And the CEO recognized my contributions publicly at quarterly meetings. Professional success provided the validation lacking in my personal life. Colleagues respected my expertise, my decisions carried weight, and my accomplishments were acknowledged appropriately. The contrast with Morrison family dynamics was painful. Meanwhile, my relationship with Connor deteriorated further. Weekend visits were filled with arguments about prioritization, future plans, and family obligations. He pressured me to quit the Cincinnati job and return to Columbus permanently. Enough is enough, Emma. Choose marriage or career, but you can't have both. The ultimatum forced a decision I had hoped to avoid. After extensive soul-searching, I chose career advancement over marital satisfaction. The decision wasn't easy, but years of feeling inadequate and unwelcome in the Morrison family made the choice clearer. I filed for separation, assuming divorce proceedings would be straightforward. Ohio was a no-fault divorce state. We owned minimal joint assets, and no children were involved. I expected an amicable resolution, focusing on equitable property division. Just as I was establishing a stable life in Cincinnati, Natalie called with panic in her voice. Emma, I need help immediately. This is a family emergency and only you have the expertise to handle it. According to Natalie, Mrs. Morrison had suffered a minor stroke, and doctors recommended establishing medical power of attorney arrangements to handle financial matters if her condition worsened. Since you understand complex financial documents from your work experience, mother-in-law trusts you with this responsibility more than anyone else in the family. The explanation sounded reasonable. My professional background gave me credibility, and despite our rocky relationship, Mrs. Morrison might prefer someone with financial expertise to handle important documents. Why can't Connor or Richard handle this? I asked. Both of them are traveling for work, Natalie replied quickly. Doctors say the paperwork needs to be completed immediately to protect assets if her condition deteriorates. The hospital social worker recommended these specific forms. Natalie drove down from Columbus to Cincinnati in an emergency, arriving at my apartment building parking lot late Tuesday evening. She looked genuinely distressed. Red eyes, disheveled appearance, hands shaking while holding a document folder. These are standard power of attorney forms, she explained, spreading papers across the car hood under parking lot lighting. The lawyer said someone in the family needs to sign as backup trustee to protect funds if medical expenses increase dramatically. The documents look professional, proper letterhead, notary seals, legal language about medical emergencies, and asset protection. Under pressure from the supposed urgency and desire to finally contribute positively to the family situation, I signed the forms without thorough review. Thank God, Natalie sobbed with apparent relief. Mother-in-law will be so grateful. This shows you truly care about family despite everything. 2 weeks later, I received a call from Detective Johnson of the Franklin County Sheriff's Office. Ma'am, we need to discuss unauthorized transactions from Helen Morrison's retirement accounts. Your signature appears on several financial documents. My world collapsed immediately. Mrs. Morrison had never had a stroke. She was perfectly healthy, attending a bridge tournament in Florida with church friends. Natalie had fabricated the entire medical emergency to trick me into signing documents that enabled access to my mother-in-law's retirement funds. The investigation revealed Natalie had withdrawn $1.5 million from various accounts over a 2-week period. The money was moved through a series of transfers designed to obscure the paper trail, ultimately ending up in personal accounts that Natalie controlled exclusively. Natalie claims Emma convinced her these were legitimate estate planning documents, the detective explained. She insists Emma used professional expertise to deceive her about the true nature of the transfers. Within days, the story spread throughout Columbus social circles. The Morrison family immediately accepted Natalie's version, portraying me as a manipulative outsider who had exploited family trust to steal retirement savings. Mrs. Morrison pressed charges, confident in Natalie's innocence. Connor, despite years of marriage, immediately assumed my guilt. "How could you do this to my family?" he accused over the phone. "We knew you resented us, but stealing from an elderly mother is unforgivable." My professional reputation suffered significantly. News of the charges reached my Cincinnati workplace, creating an uncomfortable atmosphere and questions about my character. Though not terminated, advancement opportunities suddenly disappeared. I hired experienced criminal defense attorney Gloria Chen with a $75,000 retainer fee, nearly half my annual salary. The financial pressure was immense, forcing me to sell furniture, jewelry, and anything valuable to cover legal expenses. The investigation process was thorough and degrading. Bank records were examined, personal communications subpoenaed, colleagues interviewed about my character. 6 months of uncertainty while the prosecutor decided whether to pursue charges against me based on Natalie's accusations. The breakthrough came when my attorney's private investigator discovered Natalie's gambling history. She had been regularly visiting Hollywood Casino Columbus for 2 years, accumulating significant debts through high-stakes poker games. Casino surveillance footage showed her losing thousands of dollars repeatedly. Furthermore, detailed analysis of financial records revealed Natalie had been struggling financially for months before the theft. Despite appearances of wealth, she and Richard were behind on mortgage payments, credit card debts were mounting, and their children's private school tuition was overdue. Bank security cameras provided crucial evidence showing Natalie alone, completing transactions, using identification documents, and authorization forms. A handwriting expert confirmed that signatures on legitimate Mrs. Morrison documents were different from those on forms I had signed. The most damaging evidence, a recorded phone conversation between Natalie and an unknown gambling associate, obtained through court-authorized wiretapping. Don't worry about money issues. I handled the problem by pinning everything on my sister-in-law. She's already hated in the family, so everyone will believe my story. The trial was held at Franklin County Common Pleas Court, with significant local media attention. The Morrison family attended every session, showing support for Natalie and hostility toward me. Community interest was high because the victims were prominent in dental practice and charity circles. The prosecutor presented a timeline of events, financial evidence, and expert testimony about document fraud. Natalie's gambling addiction was exposed through casino records, debt documentation, and witness testimony from poker associates about her increasing desperation. The defense strategy initially focused on portraying Natalie as a victim of my sophisticated financial manipulation. She claimed my professional expertise gave me an unfair advantage in deceiving her about the document purposes. However, cross-examination revealed inconsistencies in her testimony. When questioned about specific gambling losses and the timing of financial difficulties, Natalie couldn't provide coherent explanations. The audio recording of the phone conversation was particularly damaging, completely destroying her credibility. The bank surveillance footage was clear. Natalie acted independently, knew exactly what the documents authorized, and deliberately created a false emergency scenario to obtain my signature. The jury deliberation lasted only 4 hours before returning a guilty verdict on all charges: theft, fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The judge sentenced Natalie to 4 years in state prison, plus restitution of the full amount, plus legal fees and court costs. Mrs. Morrison recovered the stolen money, but the shock of betrayal from her trusted daughter-in-law was profound. For the first time, she understood that I was the victim rather than the perpetrator. After the verdict, Mrs. Morrison approached me with genuine remorse. Emma, I owe you an enormous apology. I was wrong about everything. My prejudice about your background clouded my judgment, and I failed to see Natalie's true character. Her apology was sincere, but the damage was already done. Years of feeling unwelcome, questioned loyalty, and assumed guilt had left scars too deep to heal with a simple acknowledgement of mistakes. Connor also attempted reconciliation. Emma, I'm sorry for everything. I should have supported you instead of assuming the worst. Can we try again? I'll make it up to you, I promise. Looking at the man I once loved, I felt sad emptiness rather than anger. Too much trust had been broken. Too many hurtful assumptions made. Too much resentment built up over years of feeling like a second-class family member. Connor, I said with calm resolve, I spent years trying to earn acceptance from people who had decided not to like me before they met me. I don't blame you for believing family over wife. Loyalty is admirable. But I can't continue a relationship where I'm always presumed guilty until proven innocent. I deserve better than that. Today, I live in Denver, Colorado, where I work as Chief Financial Officer for a renewable energy company. The position allows me to contribute to meaningful environmental initiatives while utilizing skills developed through years of struggle and education. I purchased a beautiful townhouse in the Capitol Hill neighborhood with my own savings, drive a reliable car I chose myself, and most importantly, surround myself with people who value authenticity over pedigree. My parents visit frequently, feeling comfortable in a space free of judgment about background or social status. My professional reputation is completely restored, and colleagues respect my expertise rather than question my credentials. The company board appreciates my direct communication style and practical approach to problem solving, qualities developed through Midwest upbringing rather than despite it. Natalie was released from prison early last year after serving 2 years with good behavior credit. She sent an elaborate apology letter explaining prison rehabilitation, religious conversion, and desire to make amends with everyone she harmed. The letter was filled with promises about being a changed person and hopes for forgiveness. I read the letter carefully once, considering the weight of the words and sincerity of the sentiment. Then I placed it in the shredder beside my desk. Some people believe forgiveness is essential for personal healing. I believe boundaries are essential for self-respect. My story doesn't end with a dramatic forgiveness scene or family reconciliation. It ends with quiet satisfaction of building life on my own terms, surrounding myself with people who appreciate rather than tolerate me, and never again accepting treatment suggesting I'm lucky to be included. Thank you for watching until the end. If you received an apology letter from someone who betrayed you in a fundamental way, would you read it and consider forgiveness? Or would you shred it and move forward? Comment your thoughts below, and let's see whether people lean towards second chances or protective boundaries. Don't forget to subscribe to see more stories about overcoming betrayal and building strength you didn't know you possessed.